back with another episode of Triggered AF the podcast.
Yes, listen. Disclaimer, y'all. You know how we say you have to explore all parts of yourself in order to really reach the pinnacle, you know, like the highest possible version of yourself? We're going to talk about other possible higher, you know, ways in which you can reach your pinnacle in tonight's conversation.
Yes. But before we dive in,
because we're going to dive deep, y'all.
Yeah, before we dive all the way in, we have to initiate you to our podcast.
No hazing, just initiation.
Okay?
All right, I'm open to it.
So outside of all the titles and accolades and things that you've accomplished, who do you say that you are?
I'm a planner.
A planner?
Yes.
He's like, I'm a planner.
Okay.
I like a good plan.
Okay. So then, would you say then you have a strong vision for what you want things to be?
Sometimes, if I'm honest with myself, sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm a straight A student when it comes to planning. Other times I go with the flow. But I guess the chess player in me, because I'm a few points away from being a chess master. So I like the idea of thinking ahead and having a plan. Yeah.
Oh, so we're playing chess, not checkers today, y'all. Okay, I'm here for that. Well, right now you are a professional dom and a pleasure and intimacy coach.
Yes.
So, first of all, like I just want to start basic because people don't know what that is. So first of all, what's that?
Okay, so the first part I'll start with, the professional dominant part. So most people are familiar with a dominatrix, which is the female version of what it is that I am.
Okay.
So a pleasure dom, or excuse me, not a pleasure dom, well, I am. It's just someone that you can go to if you ever had questions about kink or BDSM and you just didn't know who you can go to explore certain things, especially if you're unpartnered, right? Some people have the idea or have interest in wanting to know what it feels like to be tied up. Safely and consensually. Some people want to know what it feels like to get a proper spanking and why people enjoy it, or different types of fantasies that they might want to tap into, and they just again don't know where they can go.
Yeah.
There are places, there are people that you can speak to that can help you answer those questions.
Ooh, so this sounds like you and folks who are like you. This is where the people who are maybe getting in trouble because of their deviant behaviors need to go to explore safely and consensually.
We talked about that. Yeah.
I like this. It's giving people options so that you don't have to be afraid or feel bad about the things that you want or desire or are interested in.
Oh, yes.
It's a place for you to fully express and explore without the judgment either from yourself or others.
That's the most important part. And especially with the work that I do, I notice how important and how powerful it is for a woman to feel like she's in a place where she doesn't have to worry about being judged.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
like she don't got to worry about trying to hide her stomach in the dark.
Yeah.
I love that for her. Listen, people don't understand, especially like as women's bodies change as you get older.
Yes.
There's sometimes it's so much shame or fear around like, oh no, if he sees this dimple, or oh no, what if he sees this, or I don't feel sexy because of this. And to go to a place where it's like, no baby, give me that cellulite. Give it to me, come sit it on my face.
Yeah, no, what you're mentioning is very powerful, and it's literally the motivation behind the work that I do. All of that going on inside of a woman's head makes it really hard for her to be present on her pleasure during certain experiences. And that's just like a small part of what goes on in a person's head.
Literally. It is a part of the reason, not all, but it is a part of the reason that we are experiencing a whole nother pandemic, which is the no climax pandemic. Like the statistics around how few women not only orgasm, but how many women just have never or don't ever or just fake it so he'll hurry up and end.
Please, just
like,
stop. Just
and
stop.
I've been a victim. I too have been a victim.
Can we start like I feel like there's a mesothelioma commercial. Like, have you been victimized by bad dick? Like, you know, like what do we do about that?
Can we get compensation? Where
I'm old.
So there is a new rule that is out now.
Ooh,
if
what's
it
the
didn't
rule?
make you come, it
doesn't count.
Oh, that's been our rule. That's been our rule since college. Yeah. That's been our rule.
Yeah, we just being honest, right? Because it didn't count. I just needed you to hurry up and go.
I love that there are others like us. Yeah, we've been saying that.
I love this. And what are we, 15 years removed from college? So listen, we've been strong in the game. But my thing is this, so like you were saying, like a lot of that, and that is a us thing, right? However, our partner can assist with helping us feel comfortable. Right. So if you had to walk someone through how to make a woman feel comfortable in her body so that she can enjoy the experience, what advice or what are the words that you would use to walk them through it? And this ain't one of the questions, y'all.
That was good though.
This is inspired.
I like that.
So I recently mentioned that one of my favorite things to say to a woman during an experience is, "You are safe." So that tends to hit a little bit differently because, like you mentioned, there are so many different things going on in a person's mind. Another thing I like to say is just to remind a person to breathe. You'll be surprised how much our nervous system and that anxiety prevents us from being able to just exist in the most simplest way, breathing and just feeling comfortable. You know, so but to kind of split the advice from both. Of course, that's what I would do as a person talking to a woman, but I would make sure that men understand that women need to feel safe in order to fully open up and explore and experience all the pleasure that's possible. Like for a long time, and to some degrees, even to today, you know, sex with men is one of the most dangerous things a woman can encounter. You know, think about prior years, like even the idea of getting pregnant was very scary for a lot of women because a lot of women died during childbirth. I mean, this is all a part of the reason why, you know, the risk in dealing with the man, and it is all different forms of safety, right? You're talking about, like, you know, infectious safety, and you're talking about physical safety, and you're talking about emotional safety, and then you have the opportunity to not even have an enjoyable experience. So it's like, that's a big thing to risk to go into when it comes to having sex with a man. And it's like, how can men start to understand what can we do to teach men that all of this plays a part in being able to open up, you know what I mean? And then we're gonna have a conversation about it all.
Listen, we didn't dive deep. I don't even know what the questions were.
I think today we here for a good time and a long time.
I think today is gonna be both. Y'all gonna get both this time.
Not too long, but I want to cut this short. I have a lot of questions. Let me get started. So in a recent LA Times article, it was found that young people ages 18 to 30 are having less sex than previous generations. You know, y'all know I love a good statistic. In 2021, the survey found the number of young Californians who reported having no sexual partners in the prior year reached a decade high of 38%. So we're not fucking, okay? This is what's gonna lead to Handmaid's Tale.
Exactly.
Like we're not fucking, it means we're not procreating, okay?
And that
was the number one commandment. The God said be fruitful and multiply, okay? It means we got to fuck, okay? So
it's a commandment, actually.
Why did you disobey the Lord? Obviously, these researchers came to their own conclusions of why these things are happening. But if you had to guess, what do you think are some of the contributing factors as to why people are not having sex
and not obeying the commandment?
Not obeying the commandment. I feel like people are taking people for granted in this generation.
Ooh.
What I mean by that is like it's the accessibility. Even though we have more ways to connect, the connections are lower.
Right, surface.
For example, like even the dating experience, people are on Tinder and they're on different apps, and it's like you can swipe 1,000 people. So investing in a person and investing in getting to know them and what they like and building something is less likely because you feel like, oh, if this one doesn't work, I could
swipe and get another one.
You know, so and then you already know we live in a world where the attention span is so low. So imagine, and we suffer from that even though we are of a higher generation. So imagine what the younger generation are experiencing when it comes to what keeps their attention and what allows them to be able to get to that next stage. I know young people who are afraid, I know young men that are afraid to approach women, but that used to be the thing. In my generation, the idea of hollering at a woman in the street and get her number and pursue her, that was the shit.
And that's why I won't date a man. If I have to go up to you, I'm not gonna take you serious. You a good time, not a long time.
I get that.
If you aren't strong enough as a man to approach me, if I intimidate you that much with my mouth closed, by the time you get to know me, like you're gonna run from me or try and break me so that I can feel more palatable to you.
No, that's a good point. Yeah, men, a lot of young men, because again, they don't have that practice, they are very intimidated and petrified of women. And I'm like, that's not the way. You're not going to make any progress that way. So, and then we have the evolution of sex toys, and we have the availability of like different types of ways to experience pleasure. So people are really taking each other for granted in certain degrees.
Yeah, like the actual experience of sex, as opposed to just like the getting off or getting the nut or something. It's just like, what about like all the things? Like for me, like I always say foreplay starts in the morning, like outside the bedroom. Like it's not about like, okay, so, and I can say this publicly, but I have a history of cheating. Okay. Right? And the reasons why I cheated in the past relationships that I was in before I was married, John, okay?
You hear that, Reggie? Before marriage.
He knows. We talk about this stuff all the time. One of the reasons is because I like new energy so much. Yes. And I'm really infatuated and like turned on by like, even like, like you came in and I was like, well, you smell good. Like I love new smells, new conversation, new energy. Like that for me is like, that is something that gets me.
There's an actual term for that. That's called new relationship energy.
Is that what that is? Yes. Okay, I like that. I like that. Okay. I like that.
So you like that a lot.
Look into role playing.
Oh, okay. You know, like
at a bar, up at a bus stop.
Yeah, like I love, like I just love, like that.
And you can create whole characters and name them.
And I've done that in the past and stuff. Like I love stuff like that. So I'm saying that to say, like a lot of times when you are like that and you want like that new energy, it's like for me that gets me going. Like I could never be a part of this like swipe generation. And I think that is the benefit that we have being a little older is we know both sides. Right. You know, and I think now we're all kind of coming full circle like, oh, that kind of shit don't really work like that. Like that's not really as fulfilling, and maybe for the small percentage that can find a husband or find a wife or find a partner on there, but that's not the vast majority. And you can tell that a lot of us are trying to come home to like, no, what is it to really connect now? Like where is the real connection? So that, because now these fake connections of sex gotta suck.
People are like, I can only imagine I've heard of some of the conversations people men try to initiate online, you know, when it comes to like the Tinder situations or any freaking chat line for that matter.
Yeah.
You know, that's
horrible.
Some age.
Oh, not a chat line. I remember that. No, but it was like a little phone line thing that you could go on and talk. You didn't do that as a kid?
My favorite one was The Loop. I don't know if y'all heard of that one. But
The Loop. I don't know if we had that in Florida.
Was fire. That one called Brooklyn Donut. It was a lot.
Oh yeah, y'all had a lot happening.
Yeah, where it'd be like a bunch of people on like a chat line, and you can go to different rooms in the chat line.
Yeah, I do remember. That was the first Clubhouse.
Yes.
That was the first.
Okay, we real old.
But even that provided more of an experience. You really connected. It wasn't so. It wasn't so like, I guess, you didn't have that many people just flooding the situation. You try to log in.
Yeah, it wasn't so transactional.
I was on the phone till 3 a.m. It's like,
But then, so we clearly know like the connection between people isn't as deep anymore. Yeah. But do you think like it starts because we don't have as much of a connection with ourselves anymore because we're pulled in so many directions? Or what would you like?
That's a great way to look at it. Absolutely. But it's just a matter of prioritizing what our needs are, what we want. So many people don't. So I'm in a place of reflection right now, and whenever I could get into this space, right, I realize that I go back to my roots, my spirituality, praying and vision boards and affirming myself and all those different things. And I realized that the advice that always has stayed true is to have a vision for your life, is to plan things. Yeah. You know what I mean? And what happens, especially I guess with the younger generation in particular, is that they're not moving with the plan. You know, they don't have an idea of what they want their relationship to look like, what they want their romance to look like. You know, they're just kind of like playing it by ear. So I think that's part of it.
Okay.
You know, so.
Oh, I like, you just said something deep, and I would love for you to walk us through that if you could. You said they don't have an idea of what their relationship, they don't have an idea of what they want their relationship to look like. Yeah. So what about people who don't have an idea of what they want their pleasure to feel like?
All right, y'all, we know we're all survivors. I'm a survivor, you're a survivor, our grandmothers are survivors, our mama's a survivor. But what does your life look like when you move from surviving to thriving?
Exactly, because here's the thing. Staying in that cycle of survival for so long makes you miss out on the best parts of life that only come after you have learned how to thrive. The challenge if you choose to accept it and understand it, is that the only way to get to the thriving part of this whole life thing is to learn how to change.
With this program, you'll get 7 tools that you can use that will take you from awareness all the way to advancement, so that you will have the skills and you'll be able to apply some of these tools and resources to start living the life you actually want.
It is absolutely time for you to not only take control of your life, but to start creating and designing a life that feels as good as it looks. Go now, hurry up. Go, go, go.
Yes.
99% of women around the world. I have no idea.
So, the reality is that you have to open up your mind by looking at things, watching episodes like this, other podcasts, other, reading books and going to workshops and classes and things like that. Because I can say prioritize your pleasure, and that sounds trendy, and everybody has heard that one way or another. But what does that really mean?
Right. What does that look like?
Investing time, energy, and money into, improving what your understanding of pleasure looks like for you. So. I would definitely start with just reading about things. One of the things I'm hoping that we talk about today is how to have a conversation with your partner about opening up.
That's definitely one of the questions. It's the next question, actually. So you are aligned. Okay. So you can go ahead and answer it after you finish what you was discussing.
So, and to mention what you mentioned earlier about the epidemic that we're facing with the problems that the orgasm gap is creating between men and women, men don't even know it exists. So the first thing that we have to do is kind of share that information, or be prevalent, or have that information be, or be aware of that information first, and then share it with other people and have a conversation about it. Men don't know that there's an orgasm gap because women are not telling them that they're not having orgasms.
Because we fake it. I faked it for like 6 months with an ex. I'm sorry.
And it just happens. So you're not alone, and you will not be the first or the last woman to do it. It happens so often, and I know because all of my clients tell me the same thing. In one way or another, they are either faking orgasms or just not experiencing the pleasure that they want to have, and they don't tell their men because the men are fragile. Their egos are too fragile, and they need a framework to kind of like have that conversation, to help better have that conversation.
So walk us through it.
Yeah, what's the framework?
What's the framework?
Because I'm the opposite. Like, I'm not faking that. I'll be like, oh, that sucked. I don't like that. That's disgusting. Don't spit on me. Get away.
That's how I am now, but I was not like that for a long time.
Yeah,
because
but
I was
ways are
afraid.
a problem though, because like my way emasculates, and then it makes the man feel like I had an ex tell me that sex with me feels like a math problem, and my response was, well, then solve it. Okay, 2 + 2 is always 4. Okay, once you decode it, the code is always going to open the door. But you know what I mean? Like what? Because I feel like both of our extremes could be problematic.
So what the reality is, to kind of, I'm going to get back to the question you asked, but I want to kind of tap into that math problem thing that you said. Men don't understand that there should be some research done. I know this sounds nerdy. I know sexy and sexuality is supposed to just flow and it's supposed to be spontaneous. I don't believe in that. We all are gathering information as we go. Why not go right to the source? There are books written by women, like legit doctors, that show you where the areas in the body that women experience the most pleasure. There's the A spot, the P spot, the G spot, all of these different ways. Even the fact that the clitoris exists, and the sole purpose of the clitoris is to provide pleasure.
Sole purpose. Y'all hear that? Sole purpose.
It has no other job but to deliver pleasure to you. So if you're ignoring that while you're having sex or trying to deliver pleasure to your partner, then you're, again, breaking one of the commandments, so to speak. You know what I mean? So,
breaking the commandment.
So, knowing things like that will better position yourself to solve that math problem, right? There are certain things put in us. I know that everybody's different, and what turns you on mentally and psychologically may vary from the next person, but there are areas in your body, places.
There's a formula.
There's a formula. There's a mechanic, to it.
No, but it's true, because I've always believed that. I'm just like, there's a formula. Like, it's not rocket science.
It's really not.
Nobody is doing,
really not.
Like you said, not many people are doing the work to actually. If I were to ask men, and I started a little bit of a segment where I'm going around talking to people in the street. So I hope you guys see that soon.
Yes, I would love to. I haven't seen it yet. Have you been posting it?
No, I haven't posted it.
Oh, okay. I'm about to say I haven't seen that.
But one of the things I want to have a conversation with more people about is like, where did you learn about pleasure?
Yes.
Right. But we've learned about sex, and that has been limited to talking about STDs and pregnancy. That's the sex education. That's all they cover.
Yes.
But nobody talks about actual pleasure.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Now I'm confused. Where did I learn about pleasure?
The most cliche answer I hear is, I talk to my partner, but what if they don't know? Like you just mentioned, people don't have an idea of what they enjoy, so like, why not read about it? Why not go to a class? Why not watch something that you guys can learn from? You know, take that journey of exploration together, and that is the important part. So when we're talking about prioritizing pleasure, we can't run away from the work that it takes to learn new things. You know?
Skinemax.
Yes.
That's where
I learned about pleasure watching the pornos with the fuzzy TV. You remember when you couldn't afford like actual Playboy channel, and you turned to it and it was fuzzy, but you could still see like a coochie or like a ass. Me and my cousins used to watch that, and that's where I feel like was my introduction.
And now I'm going to tell you that I'm not going to tell you that there was no value that you could gain from watching that stuff, but I'm sure you know in your big age now that a lot of porn that's on television,
fake.
it's fake.
It's
not
so
real.
fake.
It's not what our intimacy
And it doesn't
is.
translate to the bedroom.
No.
And another factor that I always speak about is the fact that they're looking like white pleasure and black pleasure looks very different.
Ooh, don't it?
Right? You
It sure
understand?
does.
What turns them on tends to be different than what turns us on.
Yeah.
And when we start talking about kink and BDSM later in this conversation, I'm going to expand on why most people don't think that kink and BDSM could be for them, especially if they're a person of color.
Yeah.
So
It does sound like some white people shit.
yeah,
It does.
I love that.
It does.
Right?
Yeah.
But I'm gonna break it down later. But as it relates to like watching porn to learn about pleasure, that's the worst thing that you can do.
Yeah.
First of all,
But that's all we had.
That's
Who could
all.
you have the conversation with?
Thank you. I'm glad you asked that.
Like,
question.
so I have a
I know it's not
14-year-old.
Sir Marvelous.
I mean, yes, actually, that's why we wanted to bring you on.
Yes.
Because it's like, okay, if you never have the conversation, kind of like how they tell young women, don't date, don't have sex, especially if you're in a religious setting. Don't date, don't have sex, don't. And then all of a sudden you're supposed to hurry up, get married, and be this porn star for your husband. And it's like,
That's unrealistic.
how in the hell, when you have told me for 21 plus years,
Not to.
don't date, don't talk
Don't
to
even
men.
masturbate in a lot
Don't
of
even
religious sectors.
masturbate.
That's a real thing.
Don't do any of that. But now I'm just supposed to know how to date, know how to choose partners.
Know how to give head, which
Know
is
how
a
to-
learned skill.
It is
It's
a
just like-
skill you
don't
learn.
naturally know how to suck a dick. Like
You
you have
don't.
to be taught that.
You have to be taught.
And this is a requirement for healthy relationships.
It
okay?
is.
Yes.
Like my 14-year-old, and there was a girl who was like, oh my God, how could you teach your 14-year-old how to date? I'm like, because she's going to need to know.
Right.
Like I'm teaching her, hey, this is how you honor yourself
Yes.
first. This is what it looks like to make decisions that align with what you actually want.
Right.
So she messed up the little first guy, and instead of getting mad or like punishing her for what she did, I punished her for the lie, but not for what she did. And I made sure she was fully understanding. Honey, your mama and your daddy, I know them.
So I'm gonna break one of my rules. I normally don't talk about my daughters, but that brings up a conversation I had with my 6-year-old the other day. So she downloaded an app on my phone, long story short, and it was like an AI app where she was just talking. And one of the conversations was like about relationships. She was like, I want you to be my boyfriend. She's talking to her AI app, whatever.
Yeah.
So I immediately was like, got into father mode. I called her mom. I'm like, what the hell is this? She downloaded it on my phone. I hope she ain't got it over there on your, whatever.
Yeah.
But I didn't. I actually didn't do that. What I did was I said, I'm gonna play a game with my daughter. And I asked my daughter, I said, hey, one of the apps that you downloaded, they're writing me right now, and I don't know what to say because I'm not you. So what ended up happening is I asked her, I was like, hey, what made you do this? She was like, oh, because I'm practicing. I have a crush and I don't know how to talk to them.
Oh,
You know what I'm saying?
but do you see what happens when you ask the question versus just punish?
But it gets funnier. Watch the twist.
What's up?
So now we created a safe space for her to talk to me whenever we get on the phone. So now those conversations go from how's your day, this, that, and the third, to like, can I talk to you about my crush now? And she's telling me like, oh, we was in, he touched my hand, he this, that, and the third. And then the other day I'm on the phone with her and she's like, I spoke to my crush and I told him I like him and he told me he's not interested. He's interested in another girl.
Oh, this is a good thing to have.
This is so amazing.
I
But
love this.
It's a twist. She goes, I go, how does that make you feel? She said, that's bad. That's okay. I got 4 other crushes anyway.
Oh, hello.
Yes, there are
Don't
some
I always
others.
tell you that? That's how girls girls start out. That's how we start out. We start out pimping you.
But I had
and then
to bring
we
it
get
back.
caught up.
I had to do a you moment, which was I had to let her know, like, listen, you can't validate your feelings by an external reasons.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
understand that might make you feel a certain type of way, but I promise you there are other things that you can focus on that are going to make you feel better.
Even
But
better.
just for her to even have that
to
space,
feel safe enough.
you know, and we talk about that all the time because we both
Yeah.
have girls, and we're just like, you know, what is this going to look like? And you're there. I'm not there yet, but you're there where you're just like, hey, like,
I got to do this.
Conversations?
I got one chance to get this right.
Yes.
Because for me, it wasn't about what she did with the boy. I'm so not concerned. Again, I know her mama and her daddy.
Yes.
So I already know the types of fire she has coursing through her body. That doesn't bother me. And of course, as she becomes even more age appropriate, I am incredibly open and believe in being so that she too can experience the best, you know, most age appropriate type experiences, right? But for now, yes, to be empowered to make decisions in a way that's not as harsh as yours or as harsh as mine, because we both be on just, you know, we've had some interesting experiences. But ones to where she could say, hey, you know what, I prefer this, instead of like, I don't like it. It's like, you know, I prefer this.
Yes.
So it's her little guy friend. After she got her self-worth, there was a guy who was trying to date her, and he broke up with her to date somebody else, and then he came back after a month, and I said, hey, babe, if you allow him back, please understand that he will forever play with you because you've taught him that you don't respect you. I was like, you can do what you want to do, but just understand that these actions breed these results. And if you don't like these results, you may want to, you know, take a different action. It took her about another month, but she was like, you know, Ma, I don't think I'm going to continue talking to him because I don't like the way it feels.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, cool. She met another guy and he courted her. I mean, just the cutest little courting.
I like
He brought her flowers, like candies, like they would go to a little lunch and he'd buy her favorite little drink. And it wasn't about the act of buying things. It was about the fact that he was listening to what she was saying she liked.
And guess where she got some of those ideas from?
I mean, her mama.
Right.
Her mama.
Yes.
Yeah, no, it does start young, and you know, sometimes when we're talking about young people, you have to be so careful because of how perverted the world is now.
Yeah.
But we also don't want to ill-equip them because we're trying to protect them. Like you end up
because then you still mess it up. Like, they're still not protected.
You get exposed to it, you know.
Either way.
I was speaking about the fact that, like, even with somebody like my daughter, 6 years old, when I tell her something isn't right or something isn't good, her understanding of that word isn't what I truly mean. I am talking about good from a philosophical point of view, like what's morally good.
Yeah.
As a 6-year-old, good or bad means it was too hot, it was too cold,
or an adult said so.
An adult said so. But guess what? What happens when they do something that I said wasn't good, but it feels good?
Yes, because a lot of the things feel real.
Now what? Now we're not clear.
This isn't good, but this feels amazing. Like,
that's how I started having sex early.
Like, it feels great. Like,
that is literally how I started having sex early. My mama told me that all boys give you are babies and diseases.
Yes.
And I literally thought that that's all they gave you until I was 15. When my two girlfriends, Rachel and Sade, love y'all. I know Rachel's gone on to be with the Lord. But they told me that's not the truth. And they were like, she lied. And I was like, no, she wouldn't do that. She loves the Lord. And they was like, baby, that's not the truth. So they was like, okay, the next guy who comes by, you gotta kiss him. That's how I got my first kiss. I didn't even like the boy. But they were like, the next guy who comes by, you gotta kiss him. So I was like, okay, all right. They were like, and I promise you, you won't get pregnant. Well, they just told me you won't get pregnant. They had to disprove my theory of what my mother said. They were like, you won't get pregnant and you won't get a disease. And I was like, are you sure? They were like, absolutely. And I haven't already. Listen. I was like, did it happen that fast? Listen, I had been practicing on my bear from watching all my Skinemax.
Yes. Oh, God.
So
practicing on the bear.
I was practicing the bear. No, I was kissing the bear. I was kissing the bear. I did hunch a little later, but I was kissing him first. And so I kissed the guy that night, and I was like, oh, this feels great. I didn't get pregnant. I didn't get a disease.
Is there more?
Like a year later, I was having sex because it was disproven, and I was like, oh, this feels great. She lied. What else? I'm gonna be straight. And
what else is there? No, I love that's a really good point, especially for people who don't really know how to have those conversations or feel afraid. Like that should be motivation enough. Like
it will blow a person's mind, and like kind of what happened to you. It will blow a person's mind when you think this is a bad thing or been told this is a bad thing, and it's not so bad. So the empowering a person is, or empowering a child, right, is letting them know like there are things that feel good, but you can choose to wait.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Which I think knowing what I know now, I lost my virginity around like 17, 18. I wish I waited longer, only because I would have had more autonomy to understand what I actually enjoyed.
Right.
Like not because of going to hell or the pregnancy
That wasn't enough for me.
or the STDs. Like those didn't scare me enough. If someone would have just been like, baby, they don't know what they doing.
They gonna be practicing on you. They gonna treat you like a construction site
properly half the time. Like you're not gonna get what you think you're getting. Like if someone would have just had that real conversation to teach me to value like my body in the right ways, to teach me like about pleasure and introducing it so that I knew what to do. Like I just didn't know what to do. I was just like, okay, like I'm here, like let's go. I heard it might hurt a little, but that's all I had. And I think that kind of threads through a lot of women's lives where we're constantly in the space of like, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just here to kind of provide the pleasure, but I'm not here to receive the pleasure. And then that goes back to the question of what are the things that we're supposed to be like doing on a regular basis. Like you talked about the research and like men doing research, but like what can women be doing, to kind of enhance our experiences and get more orgasms with or without a partner?
I like that. So edging is something that I always recommend for both men.
Edging? What is edging? What's edging, y'all? What's edging?
Edging is kind of what it sounds like. It's bringing yourself close to the edge where you're about to experience an orgasm.
Okay.
And stopping the sensation and allowing it to go down.
Why?
To go away. You want to keep that energy. You want to store that energy up. You want to build that energy up and make it into a bigger orgasm or more elongated one. Also, for men, it actually allows them to have bigger, longer erections. It actually teaches them how to control their orgasm, and it also teaches them how to have orgasms without ejaculation.
Which is when the orgasm up the spine.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Oh.
I do a little research. Too.
So it's if you've ever had sex with a partner and they nutted and they stayed hard, that's some really good sex right there,
right. Because that means we can go again.
Keep going.
Yeah,
right?
Keep going.
So it's when so that's something that men can learn. You know what I'm saying? So one of those conversations I would have if I had a son or a teenage son that was developing, I would teach him like, if masturbation is not wrong, but practice enjoying the journey of getting to know your body. For most of us have sex the way that we learned how to masturbate, quick and quiet.
And dirty, because you feel so dirty about it.
And like in secret.
And in secret. So what happens is when you start to have sex with someone, you're treating them like that. You're trying to get there as quickly as possible, and that's not the way that sex is supposed to take place. So I would teach men, when you masturbate, I would teach a young man, sure, masturbate, but I want you to practice not orgasming.
Oh my God.
I want you to practice storing that energy within your body so that when you're with a lover, you'll know what it feels like to enjoy the journey, not the destination. So, most of us are so...
a game changer. That would change a whole generation.
A whole generation. So then, so we need to just plaster that on enjoy the journey, not the destination. So that folks know to slow down.
Yes.
Slow down.
So we had, because we're just so excited about the conversation.
We have so many questions.
I know, right? That are not on here. But no, so you said you were going to give us an example of how a woman, because men's egos can be incredibly fragile.
Yes.
Like I had told a guy, no, I wasn't ready for sex like 5 times in one night. He decided we were ready and then raped me that night. So the fear of how a man will respond when we say no, or when we decide that this isn't necessarily what I like, or just us not responding right could literally get us killed or harmed.
It's very dangerous,
Yes. And so how can we, or what are some ways, or you can even go to the script, and just a little bit of the script. They got to pay you for the whole script.
Say no as soon as possible when it comes to like the little things, even in the dating phase, because the best way to learn to find out who a person is to find out who they are when they hear no. When a person doesn't get their way. So the sooner you can say no to a person about something, even if it's just a test, and I know people hate the idea of testing your partners, but the reality is that you want to know who they are when they're not getting their
especially
way.
quickly.
Yeah. You know what I mean? And I say that, like, if you're trying to have a conversation and you're putting your best effort into framing the conversation so that it's healthy, it's constructive, and this person is just like, just not taking it well and getting aggressive or getting defensive and just making you feel horrible. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, because now I know you're not for me, and you can make room for the person who is. So the reality is,
get out the way.
I can tell you no as a woman to see who you are, the better it is for me. And even as the relationship progresses, maybe they made it past the first couple months or the first couple years. If you find out that that person is somebody that is not safe to talk to communicate with, better late than never. So to learn like this person isn't for me. What happens is we tend to hold on to people that are not for us, that are not good for us. Things or opportunities, and what happens is, God, the universe, whatever you believe in, is never going to give you what you deserve if you're keeping the parking space, occupied with something that don't even supposed to be there. So, to go back to answering your question on how you can frame it is, for example, you're married. I'm going to use you as an example. You could be reading an article about the orgasm gap, the epidemic of women not having orgasms. You could say something, well, I'm glad I got a man that understands this, right? And what's happening is you're projecting onto him that you're about to have this conversation. So one thing that you can do is, or any woman can do is you can make that man feel honored to have that conversation by letting him know that he is the only person you can have this conversation with. So many other men get so defensive, babe, when women talk about
reverse psychology.
Low reverse psychology, low projected. So many men, I'm so lucky to have you because you're so open-minded. You don't get defensive and you really care about my pleasure. What do you think about and you can start to kind of unfold that conversation.
So asking questions as opposed to just making demands.
Yes, definitely ask questions. And also you have to understand that, as crazy as it sounds, you do have to stroke our ego. That's why I'm telling you to lead in that way, by letting that person know. And I would hope to some degree it is true, not some degree, but I would hope that it is true that you do feel confident to talk to your person. But what's happening is, when it comes to this subject, this type of topic or whatever, it can be a little bit difficult for women. Because like you said, men are particularly fragile, their egos are fragile, and when it comes to sex talks, it's even more fragile, right? But men also don't know these statistics, these facts that exist.
I think that's too because we lie to them. If we're faking it all the time, you think you are the bee's knees, and we gotta own that.
I have yet to be hanging out in my brotherhood, my friends, whatever, and a man woke up to me, one of my friends woke up to me and was like, my ex is saying I was a bad lover. Never.
That's never gonna happen.
Fellas, you can think about it. Has any man ever walked up to you and was like, yo, my girl said I ain't hitting it right? Never. So why would they think they're not hitting it right?
And see, girls have the conversation.
And we talk about how bad y'all are.
How do you do this? Or how you get them to stay? What you be doing? How you be putting it on them? We have the conversation.
And we teach each other, some of us at least, how to properly perform fellatio.
We so focused on nurturing in one way or another, or building that skill in one way or another. You have dick riding classes, you have dick sucking classes, this and that classes.
We got all the classes.
Where do men go if they want to learn how to eat pussy better?
Y'all do not have those? Well, Sir Marvelous.
So there's so many different. You can tell that there is evidence that there's work to be done. There's no real conversations about pleasure, because for a long time women's pleasure was put to the backbone or the back burner, so to speak. It wasn't about y'all.
They would literally cut off our clit so that you wouldn't be tempted to experience pleasure. And
I have a theory, and this is going to be a little bit bold, but I think that society, historically speaking, for thousands of years have been afraid of women's pleasure.
Absolutely.
I have seen what a woman is capable of, or what most women are capable of, and it defeats us.
Bar none.
There's not a man, I challenge you, there's not a man on this planet that can outfuck a woman. And what I mean by that is, I'm not talking about sex where it's elongated and it's just painful after a while and she's just over it. I mean, if she's enjoying it and she's
round for round.
You're not going to
keep going.
It's why so many women like to have sex with other women. Because you do get the full experience of all the things. Is what
that's the truth.
I say that all the time. Sex with women feels so much better than sex with a man. Even though I enjoy and love men, sex with a woman is better.
Because there are other things that are focused on besides penis. There are real sex educators that are trying to stop the word sex from being defined as penis and vagina sex, to include foreplay, or foreplay to be more of the focus.
Can we bring the foreplay back? correct.
Foreplay
Because that's
can be
what
the
we
focus.
prefer.
Yes, and it could be more orgasmic than the actual penetrative sex.
What are some types of foreplay that people overlook a lot that they don't? Because I think a lot of times when we think about foreplay, we just think about the stuff that
Sucking
leads
some
to sex.
titties.
Yes, sucking.
Kissing on the neck, making out, slapping your ass. Like, what are the kind of
Fingering you.
overlooked forms of foreplay?
Oh, the most classic thing that I enjoy is just a genuine sensual massage. Like the idea of dripping warm oil on a person, like I have the candle lit right there.
We're gonna try it.
The idea of dripping warm oil and just taking your time and worshiping a person's body and
Worshiping the body.
Yes, just rubbing it all over, getting to know it, waking it up. You know, we mentioned prior to having this conversation, sometimes people are in relationships for long terms and they're dealing with the kids, dealing with work, dealing with all of these different things. So to be able to turn off all of those different hats or switches, so to speak, and turn on that intimacy switch so quickly is hard. So a massage can be that thing that really, and I mean a full body massage, or as long as you can without just skipping to the good shit.
Yeah.
Like,
Can we skip to the good part?
because what happens is you're showing intention, you're showing patience, and patience is like biblical. Like everything worth having, it's worth taking your time to build up. You know
Absolutely.
what I mean? So
absolutely.
when you take your time and you tease the body, because that's another thing women enjoy. I mentioned this last night when I was recording. I'm reading a book called the Superior Man.
Oh, I read that book.
Yes.
That's where I learned about the spine stuff.
Yes. And one of the things he mentioned, I don't know if you remember this chapter, he was like, women don't actually want what they're asking for. What he meant by that, he gave an analogy about when a woman asks you to nut or to come, don't. She's challenging you to see if you are strong enough to resist it in that moment. So when she's like, come in this pussy, baby. Yeah, she do eventually want you to, you know what I'm saying? But not at that exact moment. Right.
Yeah.
She wants to hear something like, you don't deserve it yet.
Oh, see.
She want to feel you fight and hold that energy back because you're in control. She wants to see your patience.
Yeah.
Like, don't get it twisted. It ain't gonna be the end of the world if you do it, especially if she love you and she wants you to do it.
Right.
But at the end of the day, it's so much sexier when a man shows patience. That's why.
Then flip her over.
Especially if you're enjoying
in another position.
When a man shows self-control, that shit is sexy.
Discipline. A man who is disciplined will make me fall in love.
Yeah, like it's not about the six pack. It's what you have to do to get the six pack.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's not about and honestly, and I think I can say this for most women, it's not even about the money. Or the car or the house. It's the kind of man it takes to get those things. And then if you got a little character and some good dick to back it up, it's like
and some jaws that work. I mean, a tongue that is just
that is the full package, honey. Okay, that's all you need.
So there are. You got me thinking. That's so true. That's the first time I've ever heard somebody say that out loud, because that's what I agree with as well. Back in the days when you see somebody with a good body, it said a lot about them. Nowadays, it's kind of like,
built a bar.
Everybody with the veneers, and I'm like, do you brush your teeth? So,
like people aren't taking. It goes back to what you're saying. Like we're taking everything for granted. Taking everyone for granted. Taking every experience for granted. We just want the get quick fix, and it just permeates in every part of our lives. And then now we're all like mad. Like I know for me, like if I'm not like consistently feeling pleasure, I get really bitchy. And I get on edge, and it's very obvious that like I'm not in a good place. And I just think a lot of us are, maybe we just all need like a good fuck, like a lot, like, you know what I mean? Like I just feel like none of us, like we're not fucking enough, and then it's not good.
Smart enough and awoke enough to be like, God doesn't make any mistakes, but he gave you a clip.
Right.
For a reason. And like I mentioned, there's scientists, doctors, whatever you want. They all Googled it, looked it up, put it under a microscope, and said, this doesn't have any job.
No other job.
No other job.
And all the nerve endings.
Yes.
Okay.
There are so
and then women
many.
are so multi-orgasmic. So to go back to what I was saying, that's what I was
Yes. Bring that back. I want to hear about that.
Women are so multi-orgasmic. So the idea that how is there an orgasm gap where men are having more orgasms when women can have more orgasms?
Are literally created to do so.
Yes, they're literally
crafted and designed.
There's a miseducation, there's a misunderstanding, there's something going on because it's not supposed to be like this. You know what I mean? So it's I hope that we can get into it.
We can. Listen, we can dive now. Like let's dive right now. Especially the piece about, you were saying there are multiple, and I might not be saying it right, but you were saying like there are multiple things that you can do to experience pleasure before you get to the actual sex, like the foreplay. Could you show us what some of that looks like, or what some of that is?
So absolutely.
Not you putting your stuff down.
I'm ready. What are we doing? I want to see. I want to know. I want to learn.
So I'm gonna go dive into some of the kink stuff right away.
Okay.
Right? So I know that kink and BDSM, especially in the black community, like you mentioned, is looked at as white people shit. But let me give
The words alone, immediately we turned off. That's not
can you tell us, before we start, what is kinks and BDSM?
I'll tell you that the BDSM is an acronym that stands for a couple of different things, and I'm going to tell you what those things are.
Okay.
But it's probably going to confuse most of you guys after I say the words. So BDSM stands for bondage, discipline, and sadomasochism, or submission and domination. However, those words are not enough to clarify or make you get excited about anything. So I like to give examples that clarify it a little bit better. So bondage is for people who derive pleasure from the idea of being physically and or mentally restrained by someone that they trust. Keyword, someone that you trust.
Someone you trust.
So some people might say, I'm not interested in bondage, but if you've ever been making love and you had your partner pin your hands down while they fucked you and you enjoyed that, that's a form of bondage, right? Yeah. If you love your partner, riding your face and grinding their pussy all over your face and using you like their sex toy, their body is being used as a form of bondage, right? If you like the idea of that choke and stroke combination, right? When he's choking you, that's a form of asphyxiation play, right? That's something that you can look into. If you're someone that likes to close their eyes while they're making love, that's a form of sensory deprivation. So
people are already doing it in different ways. You just don't really put it in that box.
So when somebody says, I don't like BDSM or kink, is this, I hear, I don't like food. How can you not like food?
Because you're eating every day.
There's so many different types of food. Maybe you don't like seafood. Maybe you don't like beef. Maybe you don't like chicken. Maybe you don't like pork. Okay, that's fine. But there's an option out there for you that falls under the umbrella of some of the things that we talk about. And what BDSM and kink allows us to do is it helps us learn about the things that we enjoy. The difference between a freak and a kinkster is a freak is just open-minded. I'm into it. I'm open. As long as it ain't a hard limit, I'll give it a try. But a kinkster is like, I want to understand what I like. I want to understand why I like it, and I want to be able to build upon that shit. And that's what we love about what it is that we do. All right. So,
are you a freak or a kinkster?
A little bit of both.
It's definitely a possibility.
But just a little bit of both.
Yes. So. One thing I'm going to show you the first thing. It's probably going to be the craziest thing I can show you today. Is going to be fire play. Right?
Okay. What do we need to uncover?
You can just roll one sleeve up, and I'm going to bring the fire in just a second, but I'm going to explain something to you. So the reason I'm starting with fire play is because, like you said, people think that kink and BDSM is white people shit, right? Because it looks crazy. Some of the things sound crazy.
Yeah.
When you talk about what people seen as far as BDSM on television, it's usually the white person's perspective of what pleasure looks like for them. I always say that fantasies, desires, and what brings us pleasure psychologically tends to be the polarity of what we don't experience in our day-to-day. Historically speaking, white people have always been in charge. They've always been the degraders, the humiliators, the abusers, the rapists. They're stepping on people, putting them in cages, whipping them, chaining them, all of that good stuff. So when they think about what their fantasy is, they kind of want to be treated like that to some degree.
Oh, because it's the opposite of what's happening in real life.
It's the opposite of what's happening in real life. Y'all don't need to pay somebody to be degraded. You could walk outside and to some degree feel like the world is kind of attacking you. You understand? So when you think about what pleasure feels like for you, you want to feel cherished. You want to feel appreciated.
Adored.
You want to feel safe. You want to feel adored. You want to feel worshipped. You want to feel like you matter. Like
that's so true.
Yes,
I say that all the time. Yes. I say that shit all the time. I say men want to be respected, women want to be adored, especially black women.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So when people say, "Oh, I don't like what I've seen as far as BDSM," I'm like, "Well, you probably seen somebody on television, predominantly white, being chained up and kicked in the balls and stepped on and spit on." And
that is literally what I think of when I used to think of kink or BDSM. Like, I don't want you to just be trying to kill me. I like to live.
So there's another side to BDSM that isn't spoken about often, and there aren't many examples of it for whatever reasons. But I'm going to create more and more examples as I continue my journey, right?
Yes.
Which is the sensual side of BDSM. It's the soft, it's the caring, it's the nurturing side of BDSM.
Yeah.
It's that thing that you can use as foreplay to build up arousal within the body. Okay. So I'm going to show you something called fire play today that looks crazy, but when you feel it, it's actually going to blow your mind because it actually feels fucking amazing.
Okay. So, all right.
Oh my goodness.
So fire play. Definitely, let me get you on. Is that painful for you?
No, not at all.
Can I show you what it feels like?
Sure.
Is that painful for you?
No.
All right. Now, I know most of us as black folk, we don't fuck around with no fire.
Fire is hell.
Yes.
The only fire I know is hell fire.
Where you going to hell? That's the only one I know.
And it's also like, like my hair, my makeup, all this stuff.
Yeah, all of that.
It's gonna melt. It's gonna freeze up. It's gonna make me sweat.
Fire.
Exactly.
Yes. But
Lots of things we don't do.
Was that painful?
No, it actually it made me. It made me want to learn more. I was like, ooh, okay.
So I like.
It was a little scary though.
I like that because I want it to be scary. I always tell people that my style is a combination of being intimidating and being sensual.
Yeah.
I love the idea of
I think women like that.
Yeah, it's like choke me but don't kill me.
Choke me, don't kill me, right?
Yeah,
Choke me but don't kill
I want you to be
me.
a little street, but I also kind of want you to have some
where my-
I need you to be like, I call him, what is it, an intelligent thug.
Intelligent thug,
I need you to be able to like sit your ass down. Ooh, yes, okay.
I need the best of both worlds.
Yeah.
What that does is there's a lot of science that plays a part in why something that's intimidating can be actually good. So we know that when you are nervous, in most cases, it's usually something that's bad, right? Negative energy or negative news or situations. But there's a positive side to the nervous system that we can use to our advantage.
Yeah.
When your nervous system is on high, you feel everything. It becomes more sensual, more
hypersensitive.
Hypersensitive.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? So when I walk towards somebody with something that looks intimidating and you're wondering like, what the fuck you about to do with that? And then you feel it and you touch it and you're like, oh, that actually kind of feels nice.
Oh, it's good leather.
That's that good leather, right?
So what do you use that for?
So this is for flogging,
What's that?
aka impact play. Now, impact play.
You see me both.
She's like, I'm ready. Show me.
we can do a small segment after the show where we can stand up and I can give you some brief, appropriate demonstrations of what stuff feels like, so it could be okay. All right. But impact play is most commonly recognized as spankings, paddling, flogging. What a lot of us see in BDSM content, and what so many people get wrong is that they think it's about providing pain. They think it's about intensity or leaving bruises or whatever they might have seen on television.
Because that's what you see when you're watching porn.
Yes, the loud psh,
and like they're usually white, so they red, welted.
But
or
the
skin
truth
breaking.
Is, when it's done correctly, especially by somebody like myself, it's about the art of providing a sensational experience. So sometimes I can just drag this across your naked body while you're blindfolded and tied up, and I'm talking dirty things into your ear, and that could be enough to create an amazing experience.
Okay.
When I start actually impacting and swinging this flogger, what I'm trying to do is I'm actually trying to stimulate blood flow to go to those erogenous areas all over the body. Most people don't understand
it's
that.
not about the pain.
It's not about the pain. Yes.
Yeah, but you immediately think, oh, that's a whip, you about to hurt me.
Yeah, exactly. So I like the idea of you being nervous and kind of tensing up, but then I'm able to show you that you're safe.
Yeah.
I'm able to show you that I'm in control. And
So that's like an experience.
That's exactly.
Which I know what you do, but I'm just thinking about translating it into like a regular person's life that doesn't do this for a living.
Yes.
It's about creating like an experience and kind of like heightening the nervous system and bringing it back down, and like, you know, it's kind of like that.
So to go back to that new relationship energy you mentioned earlier, the fortunate part is that people can experience positive experiences when they have that new relationship energy, but after a while it ends up being an old relationship eventually. So how do I keep the relationship
stay in it
new?
Without cheating, you know, because that's not okay either. That's dishonest. That's a problem. Don't do that.
So
Don't do that.
the reality is that what's happening is you're doing the same thing with new people. The same positions, the same type of sex. And I ain't gonna lie, it is gonna switch up a little bit from person to person, but for the most part, you're doing doggy, you're riding dick, you're sucking dick, he's eating pussy, whatever the case may be, right? To some degree, right? Unless you find somebody who's a little bit more creative and spontaneous with different
figure
ideas.
But if we're being honest, that's not that common.
But if you're being honest, it's not
really
that common. So how do I open up new experiences?
With my monogamous partner.
With my monogamous partner, with my current partner. And that is by exploring things like this. Everything isn't going to be for everyone. I get that. There are going to be some things that I can probably show you or teach you and you go, oh, not my shit. But that thing over there, I love that. And I love this. And I love that. Like, for example, the idea of the massage I mentioned earlier. You know, something that you can do is you can get some coconut oil and put it in or even just get regular lube. You can put it in the microwave for 5 or 10 seconds, warm it up, and just drip it on your man's penis, one drip at a time, and tease him and give him a nice warm, hand job, and tell him he's not allowed to nut without your permission. Give him affirmations while you're doing this. Give him an experience, because part of getting an experience is giving it. What's going to happen when you do something like that for him? He's gonna, if you're dealing with the right motherfucker, he's like, I can't wait to kind of reciprocate.
So we got to lead by example.
You can lead by example.
Okay.
Let's do unto others.
As you would have them do unto you.
You know what I mean? And also speak and advocate for those ideas. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I mean by just creating different types of experiences. Like temperature play is what fire play actually is. That's the terminology might sound fancy, and I get it. It can be thrown off, but let me clear this up. Most people know what temperature play is. Let me give you an example. Have you ever heard of anyone using ice in the bedroom?
Yes.
For oral sex, nipple play, dick play, whatever, right?
That's temperature play.
I don't like that. The warmth feels better to me.
I'm glad you said that, because that's what temperature play is. It either falls on the cold or the warm. And having conversations, let me know, hey, you're more into warm, so I'm gonna leave the ice alone.
Yeah.
Right?
Is this gonna turn you off?
There we go, right?
Yeah.
But what happens is the science doesn't change. When you lower or increase the temperature in the areas of a person's body, you increase the sensitivity in that particular area. So now I'm able to DJ that shit and make it more fun. I'm able to.
That's what I say when you warm the pussy up. It's
right.
better.
It is about the foreplay, but instead of thinking about it foreplay, it's kind of like a prepping, and priming, as opposed to let me just get this out of the way so we can get to the next thing.
I'm sorry, guys. I'm not trying to tell people that women are complicated or harder to please, but there are certain facts that we have to understand about dealing with women, which is they just take time.
It's because we're multi-orgasmic, so in order to get us there,
plus, it's like I say, women are like a log fire. Sometimes it takes a little bit longer to get them started, but once they're started, it's hard to put them out.
We'll burn this shit down.
And most women are afraid to let go because they're like, men can't handle that side of me anyway, so why am I going to...
That's true. I never thought about that, but that's some real shit.
When I'm, you'd be surprised how many women have told me, like, when they let that side out of them, they get met with complaints. Oh, you want sex too much, or you're too horny, or you too much,
or you're too freaky. Like, how many others or what you be doing
we talked about that, where like we sometimes feel like women are on average nastier than men.
Yes.
And it's just like we're like growing up, or like you just are always under this idea that men are so freaking, they always want it, and they're always like jumping your bones, and then you're in relationships, it's just like
that's not the case. Like, I'd be like, why aren't you trying to? I know I'm cute.
And
why
nobody
don't you?
really talks about like men not being as sexual as they're like portrayed to be, or men having things that, or moments or periods in life where their libido drops and is low. It's just like nobody's talking about that. But like, why do you think there's so many sexual enhancement pills for men and not for women?
So what I would say is because when it comes to turning us on, it's more about like physicality or even aesthetics. So for example, we can see titties and ass, and now our dick is hard and we're ready to fuck.
It's that simple.
For a lot of men, it can be that simple. For women, they prefer more mental stimulation. Like I mentioned, there are so many things that you got to think about that you need to be clarified before you could even be comfortable to it. Not to mention, like if I give you all of this pussy, and I mean all of this pussy, how you gonna act after that? How you gonna treat me after that? How you gonna look at me after that? You understand what I'm saying? So before I can even give you all of this pussy, I need to know like there are certain things that I don't have to worry about. And that mental stimulation, that's why men are so foolish. They think, oh, women need feelings in order to have good sex. No, part of the reason why they want to get to know that guy is because they want to know if it's a good chance that the sex will be good. You could have sex with anybody you want walking by,
but the chances of
it being good,
most of the time it's
minimal.
Terrible.
So let me talk to you for a couple weeks, see where your mind at, let me see where your head at, let me see how you approach the conversation about sex, let me see if you actually are going to be attentive, and you still might fail. But at least I'm going to...
Most of the time you can fail.
But I'm still going to try my best. That's the reason why I need a connection with you, so that I can understand a little bit more about the chances of you being pleasurable, because women would love being able to have certain situations where it could just be like no strings attached, but it has to be with the right person that's going to provide that. Like there are a lot of all of my clients are working class women, business owners. Some of them have been married and divorced for a long period of time, but they're like head of households in one way or another, or just like headstrong in general. And it's like, I just need somewhere to go to just experience something for me.
Where
I don't have to worry
relax.
just relax.
Yeah.
Just be able to kind of turn that off. And women would be open to that if men could provide it. But the reality is, you have sex with a man, like you mentioned, you may not come, you may not nut, or he's gonna come too quick. Or
You're actually more likely not to.
more likely not to.
Yeah, the chances are, the odds are not in your favor.
The odds are not in your favor.
I done filled up my card and did all of this. I got a babysitter. I done figured all of this shit out.
And you can't figure out how to make it, can't figure out how to make it come.
Yes.
I can make you ejaculate,
Yes.
but you cannot make me come. And why are we here?
So now, let me give you solutions, because I can do this all day where we can complain and we can rag about.
No, that's what this podcast is about.
We like the solution.
We're about tips and tools.
So this is a
Tips
segment
and
that
tools.
you're going to want to listen to, fellas and ladies, if you want to share this with the man that maybe doesn't know this information. What we've learned about how to pleasure the vagina has been incorrect. Porn shows us nothing but friction. In and out, in and out, in and out, in and out. And even though some women do enjoy the idea of being taken to Pound Town from time to time, it cannot be that the entire time. Women's vaginas or pussies respond better to pressure. The idea of grinding, the idea of her feeling full is much better than her feeling like she's getting her cervix stabbed in the back of her fucking pussy. So what you can do is you can focus on feelings that stimulate areas in her vagina. So the idea of grinding inside the pussy, the idea of learning where the G-spot is so that you can put pressure on the G-spot is going to be a lot better. Another tip that you want to focus on is just clitoral stimulation. If nothing else that you do, find yourself a vibrator that you are comfortable with, your partner is comfortable with, and have her hold the vibrator on her clit as you fuck her. And I promise you, it's going to make the experience so much better. And when you realize how much different that experience is for her, it should inspire you to want to try more and more things.
Yeah, to be more open-minded.
Yes.
Like, men need to be more open-minded.
Yes.
You know, like, there's a lot out here in these streets for us to do. And I think especially if you are in a marriage or you are in a serious relationship or committed relationships, and it's so hard to stay monogamous these days because of all the access and or what you think are all these options out there.
Right.
When you probably have, like, the opportunity to really hone and, like, experience someone in their fullness. And have, like, the best experience of your life. And that's what I feel like is one of the better parts of monogamy that isn't talked about. Is it's way better when, like, you know somebody and
you're locked in.
And you're safe. And for women, that's, like, so important. Like, if we feel safe and I know that, like, I know when I call you gonna answer. You know, I know if my tire fucked up, you gonna come. That stuff matters to us. And to just, like, to not have that, I feel like there's just so many women who don't get to have that but still give their bodies out of desperation or out of needs for feeling validated, or all really sometimes just wanting a nut.
Yes.
But it just, there's so much more that I feel like we miss out on.
Oh, absolutely.
You know?
Yeah, and like I said, just having these conversations, like, again, men haven't known for a long time that women aren't experiencing. It's in the group chats. Yeah, talk about it in the group chats, right?
It's in your nickname in the phone.
Yes. But you
No
just
head.
So how do you have this conversation? To go back, because we did ask that question earlier. I don't know if I really answered that. The first thing you want to do is to create a safe space to have a conversation. Which
is not during sex.
Which is not.
And not right after. I've heard that.
So it can be right after.
Okay.
If it works for you. But that's part of creating a safe space, is realizing what works for you guys. Part of creating a safe space is agreeing on a time that works best for both of you. Some of us try to have conversations when we want to have conversations. What about what that person wants? I want to play the game, or I want to just chill. I just got off of work, or dealing with the kids. I'm not ready to have this super strong, intense conversation right now.
I'm not ready.
So set up a time that works best for both of you guys, where you're in a neutral, having a neutral experience where nothing too heavy is going on. And create a safe space by creating ground rules. Like, hey, this is a space where we're not going to be defensive. We're not going to attack one another. We're not going to take things too personal, And most importantly, we're able to be vulnerable with one another. And we're going to honor this space because I'm honoring you by sharing with you things that I feel like I can't tell anybody else in the world.
So that's sacred.
That's sacred. So instead of looking at it like, man, she's attacking me or he's attacking me, look at it like, you were brave enough to share this with me. Imagine how many partners or people you've experienced that you weren't able to share this information with. So even if it is something that could be, again, something that you don't want to hear, because I won't call it a negative, it may be something you don't want to hear. We've been together for 10 years, and I could tell you, like, I only have like an orgasm every now and again. You know what I mean? Or it's not something that happens often. I want to be in a situation, or I want to have a connection with you where I can feel fulfilled every single time, or more times than not.
Yeah, absolutely.
How can we work towards that, right?
Yeah, like what does that look like?
You know, one of the most common things that I hear my female clients complain about is like men not lasting long enough, right? Just as soon as it starts to get good, it's like it's over. Or, yes, you gave me an orgasm, but I'm multi-orgasmic. I want more than one. And they don't know how to give themselves permission to be greedy and ask for more. So that's where that safe space comes into play. Like, I love having sex with you. If I could change anything, I would want to have it more. I would want to have it longer. I would want it to be this or that. You understand? And again, always bringing it back to making sure that you know that this conversation is about honoring one another. I can't talk to
I love that
anybody
perspective.
else. Yes. I can't talk to anybody else like this. I've had an ex and he was defensive, and you could project, and you could,
reverse psychology and do whatever you need to do.
Psychology in general, right? That's not, because when you reverse psychology, people, they get triggered.
Manipulative.
You don't manipulate me, but the reality is psychology works for a reason. Framing, the way that you have conversations, not what you say, is how you say it.
Absolutely.
I had an ex that made me feel horrible when I told him blah, 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 blah. And I don't mean me, I'm just...
Just saying. We still doing the examples, y'all. This is still the examples.
All right. So you could say stuff like that, and it's true, And you could even use what I say. You could ask your boyfriend or your husband and say, yo, when's the last time one of your fellas came over you and was like, yo, my ex complained about sex? And I'll wait.
Right.
But I can tell you, babe, that we're in the group chats talking about it. Or there are other women in the group chats talking about it. You can go on YouTube and just type in what women think about sex with men, and it'll come up. So like,
it's astounding.
It's astounding
how much women don't like sex with men.
Yes. And it's
shocking.
And it's not because they don't want to.
They want it.
They keep trying and they keep failing. It's but how much persistence you want me to have, bro? Like, I keep trying and I keep trying and it keeps failing. Like, anybody else in any other subject would just give up. But you know what I mean?
Yeah. So do you think though? So then having these experiences with you, where it's game changing, clearly, the little fire. I was like, oh wow, okay, you can't explore, but I can. And so does it then mess them up for partners after your experience?
Not. Absolutely not. What it does is I believe in manifestation. I believe in, it's kind of like when you buy a car and now you see everybody with that car.
Yeah.
You're bringing it into your awareness. You know that something is possible. I remember when I was 18 years old and I was working for an insurance company, and my boss at the time was making like $10,000 a month. $10,000 a week, and I had never seen money like that as an 18-year-old coming from the hood. And I'm like, whatever. But it was now in my awareness, and I was like, okay, now I know that money exists. So I was able to make my $2,000 a week. So I was making $100,000 a year at that time, and it was like something that was mind blowing to me because it was possible only because I seen it done with somebody else. So what happens in pleasure and intimacy, when you experience something and you know it's possible, you're able to have conversations, and you know that this conversation made this experience better. This consultation made this experience better. These things that I thought I never would like, I actually do, and you know it exists. Guess what? You're going to attract more of that into your life.
Because now you know that it's there.
You know that it's there.
Yeah. And that you can have it.
And that it exists.
And it's possible for you. I think that's the biggest thing. Yeah.
So many of my clients have come to me and they thought they were broken. Legit broken. Like,
especially if they've had sexual trauma.
Yes. Some of them have sexual trauma, some of them don't, but I've heard it time after time. Like, I thought I could never have an orgasm. They would cry after an experience where it's like, and it's such a spiritual, like, lifting of weight that just kind of gets released from them, because it's like, this whole time I thought it was me.
Yeah, you feel free now. You're like, wait, so it does actually work.
Yes.
Like, I've had girlfriends who've never had an orgasm, and I've helped them to talk them through how they can give themselves one. And they're like, oh my God, it actually works. I'm like, yeah, but you can't be in a rush. You can't be thinking about the meeting or what you have to do right after this, because you won't be able to connect with the part of you that needs to connect in order to release.
And any client has ever worked with me, and you can read it in my reviews, I recommend that. they will tell you, I never lead with, oh, this is going to be orgasmic. This is going to be, you know, I'm talking about orgasm now because it's important, but I've never been on a consultation call with someone who was like, I'm going to give you orgasm. This is going to be the best experience of your life. Because again, I don't need to do that because I know that if I do something like that, I'm going to put more pressure on the person. And what happens is, that's the worst thing that you can do.
Then they got to perform. They're like, oh my God, I got to make sure.
We've all heard a woman complain about that man. It's like, come for me, come for me. I'm not even there.
Like, sir.
I'm not even in the room.
Now you just messed it up. You know what I'm saying?
Can't even start the car. Like,
you know what I mean? So just take your time and be present, and it will happen.
Yeah. So again, like you said, enjoy the journey, not the destination.
Right.
Okay, I have one last question. I promise we're gonna wrap it up. But I have a question around not just in the bedroom foreplay and some of the other forms of foreplay, but a lot of times, especially if men are doing all the things, right? Like they are providing, they're showing up, they're being faithful, they are being like the man that everybody wants them to be. And there's not enough conversation, and we have said we're going to commit to even having more conversations on the pressures that men carry in this world, right?
Yes.
And they're in a relationship and they feel like they're doing all these things and they don't understand that why do they have to do all these other things if they're doing the provision and they're being good guys? If they're showing up in the home, they're being good fathers, they're doing all the things. Why do they have to? Why don't you just want to suck his dick as soon as he walked through the door? Like, why aren't you just dropping to your knees like, I'm home, honey, like, please, like, worship me, I'm here. But women still want emotional intelligence and emotional availability, and we still want to be like courted, and we still want all the things. And why do I need flowers? Like, can you break that down a little bit just as we close it? This is the benediction.
Let me be clear with you. I am certain that those men have gotten their dick sucked at some point in that marriage, right? But it's like, that can't be the only way that gets me to want to suck your dick. You're not going to say that you don't love a man that's providing, being a father,
huge turn on,
different things. But I also require that other part of, like you said, that energy that makes me feel desire, that makes me feel thought about, that makes me feel, prioritized, And what happens is when we're in that dating phase and we're just meeting people, they're giving us all that energy. And that's why sometimes people be like, oh, when we first met, we were fucking like rabbits, and now we're in a relationship, because you're not doing the same things. You used to text me, you used to ask me, we used to sext and all of that other stuff, what you're wearing and blah, 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 or just planning things, or it was a lot of excitement because there was a lot of energy about the newness. What happens is people get in relationships and they stop doing what they once were doing. You stop pursuing me. You stop making me feel sexy. You stop complimenting. When is the last time you really not just, oh, baby, you look nice, baby,
because I'm dressed up.
You're just dressed up.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
When's the last time you've really lusted after me and not just expected me to give you pussy because we belong to one another?
Yeah, because you paid a bill, so I gotta give you some.
Like, when's the last time you really I want to feel like lusted after? I want to feel pursued. I want to feel desired. I want to feel seen, and that, in the way that you can do that, is by the little things. So this is something that I've learned myself in my own journey. Like, the big things matter. I'm not telling you that they don't matter, but the little things, like we talked about before on camera, just keeping your word is a way that you can turn a woman on. And again, not about the big things only. The small things. Babe, I said I was going to do this and I did this. I picked up some flowers or whatever it is that you asked me to do, like, without reason. I'm not, with no reason to forget it, or should I say, I'm not going to allow any reason to allow me to not keep my word. You understand what I'm saying? So pursuing a woman, even in a relationship, is so fucking important. If that is going to be the key to getting your dick sucked. Doing little things, the key to having her initiate things. That's because that's what men care about. I mean, be honest, we like our dick sucked, right?
Yeah.
But the reality, it just feels good. It's our way of feeling worship. And if we understand that that's what we want.
I never thought about that.
Because can you imagine, it is like worship. I'm on my knees in front of you, and maybe I'm not always on my knees, but like I'm still beneath you. I mean, many of the times I'm beneath you, you're above me.
So you said that head has y'all in a chokehold because it's like a form of worship.
Yes.
And y'all like being worshipped.
And
that's
a form of respect, right?
And is it that you all feel like more, like when you're getting head from a woman that you care for and that you're taking care of, you feel appreciated more as opposed to like actual intercourse? Like, what is the...
So, for the most part, it's two parts to it. Yes, it does feel like a form of worship. It does feel really good. But also, men haven't really experienced any other form of pleasure. So when you think about foreplay for men, right? it's not many ideas that come to mind unless a man is open to like prostate play, and we know for a lot of men, especially black men, that's usually a hard limit.
Yeah,
so when
it's
they
a
think
hard
about like
stop.
let's explore things that bring you pleasure, the first thing that comes to his mind is like, you ain't putting nothing in my ass, right? But the reality is that we have to learn about different things that can bring us pleasure. Like,
wow, that is that's really powerful.
Yeah, these
are things I've never even thought about. You know, like head is a big deal because you don't even know other things.
Yeah, there's nothing else.
There's nothing else.
That I could experience.
Aside from nipples.
You're begging for foreplay, right? What about me? What about my experience? So that's when you have to teach. So we have to learn more of the physical things that are going to be good for you, because women do enjoy the physical aspect of engaging, right? But it comes after the mental stimulation has already been laid down or laid that groundwork, right? So yes, the men have to learn the physical way to actually bring a woman pleasure, learning how to engage in the pussy. I spoke about that earlier. But women need to teach men how to be more mental. So what I mean by that is like the things that happen internally inside of us, being patient, taking our time, teasing the dick, you know what I'm saying? So like things like holding back
helping you slow down,
helping you control that orgasm, getting you really close to orgasm. Like I mentioned, edging is a very, very good technique that you can practice with your partner. And what it's going to do is going to teach them to have multiple orgasms without losing their erection. It's going to teach them how to have stronger, more powerful orgasms. And when you combine that with like Kegel exercises, that's another thing that can really improve the sexual health of a man. So most men experience, moments of like erectile dysfunction because they're not exercising the muscles within their penis.
Oh, so men can do Kegels too?
Absolutely, yes. And they should, and you could do it together.
Is that how you make it jump? Is that a Kegel?
Yes. Yes, that's exactly what it is.
The things you learn.
You do that, a couple of times a day, a couple of times, 2 times a day, and that's a great way to work on that PC muscle, to work on that erection in general.
So you won't get erectile dysfunction no more.
So wait, let's be clear with disclaimers, right?
Disclaimer: right. It's not a proven,
It'll reduce the chances.
Yes, it reduces the chances. It has been proven to increase the chances of having stronger, longer erections, because over time, a man's penis starts to lose size because the erection isn't as hard as it was when he was once younger.
Wait, dicks get smaller?
Yes, they get smaller.
Oh, God.
Yes.
Oh God, why would they do that? Why would God do that to y'all?
I don't know.
Just like vaginas get drier over time. If you don't use it, you lose it.
You don't use it, you lose it.
So you gotta do the Kegels. Okay. So y'all tell y'all men, hey, let's do Kegels together.
Yes.
And 1, and 2, and 3.
No, seriously, it sounds like a joke, but it's so serious. It can improve the experience by like so much. And another thing that you can do, like I mentioned with the edging, is learn a way to get your man to come to pausing and telling him not to come. When's the last time you told your partner like not to come without your permission? I like to do it during my sessions where I am pleasuring my bottom, and I don't allow them to come without my permission. They have to ask for it. And if they break that rule, then there's going to be punishment to follow. And it should be, you can practice that with your lover, and what that's going to do is it's going to be more of a mental stimulation for them as well.
Oh wow!
So there's definitely ways that you can take.
I think we're gonna do another session of this, another part. We need a series.
The last thing is mutual masturbation. Something I would add to the list. One of the things. So men, we love watching a woman play with herself, right?
Really?
So, we're static creatures. So the idea of you getting in front of us and you opening your legs and you playing. What I will suggest though is a lot of times your favorite toy tends to be vibrators. And as much as I love the idea of you experiencing the pleasure you want to experience, if you can, add a little penetration while the vibrator, because the vibrator just doing that isn't going to be enough to give him that, like, he wants to picture being the toy, and the vibrator isn't him. And toys are not competition by any means, but if you're doing mutual masturbation, try to do something that feels good to you that also is going to be aesthetically pleasing to that person as well.
And the fingers are more aesthetically pleasing.
The fingers are something because you could hear as you're pumping your pussy. If you want to use a vibrator, try to find a penetration toy that's comfortable for you to penetrate while you're using the vibrator at the same time.
I'm gonna have to see about these nails, because I'd be afraid I'm gonna puncture something, and yours are longer than mine.
You're not gonna puncture anything.
I think I like it.
But yeah, doing mutual masturbation is something that can really like rev things up, because what can happen is if you want to ensure a woman is going to have an orgasm, you can give her one before sex or penetration sex begins. The best way to give a woman an orgasm is to give her the first one first. So what happens is they tend to be a little bit easier after that. The first one is the warm up. The first one is to let you know we really hit it.
Right?
Yeah,
Right,
break the
get that out
ice.
the way. Get that out the way. Let's get to the real one.
Yeah,
the big O.
Right.
The big O.
So
Ooh, child. Now, I don't know about y'all, but I have just learned the most in this conversation. So we are definitely going to have you back. Maybe like an in-person audience type of situation. We're going to try and convince Sir Marvelous. And we're going to call you Sir so that he'll say yes, y'all.
Yes, I like that.
So where can our audience stay connected? Where can they become a client? All the things.
Oh yes, thank you so much. So I highly recommend going to sirmarvelous.com, reading my reviews on my website. I work with both single women and couples. So if you are a couple that wants to learn and explore more about BDSM, hands-on or in a coaching format, I also have a coaching program. I have a book out called Foreplay 101, which is literally 101 ideas of things you can use for foreplay. Right? But please sign up for the mailing list at sirmarvelous.com. The reason that the mailing list is so important is because due to the nature of my work, Instagram, social media platforms, they tend to shadow ban me or just delete me in general.
Because of the sexual nature.
Because of the sexual nature. So the best way to stay up to date with everything that's going on Marvelous-wise is to sign up for the mailing list. So start there, sirmarvelous.com.
And I will say, y'all, I took the quiz. Make sure you put your email in, okay? And pay for the consultation, okay?
That's dope.
I took one too, and it was phenomenal, okay? And that was just the consultation.
Just the consultation, right.
Trust me, you need that. Because for real though, like a lot of our triggers come from holding back.
Did you learn something?
Listen, mind your business. I
want to share with the customers. Just share with me off the air.
I'll share with you off the air.
Tell me about this.
I'll share with you off the air, girl.
That was each other.
And I still got our text messages from it was a conversation. It was very professional, y'all, so calm down. However, it is really important because a lot of us, we have so many emotions that are stored up. For women, we have more, what types of those chronic illnesses? We have more chronic illnesses than so many other people, and not just women of color, but just women in general. We have them more than men, primarily because we're so used to holding everything in, to not being expressing all of that pent up energy, frustration, pleasure, because pent up pleasure is a thing too. We pin up so much that we don't allow ourselves to fully express and explore. And if you've ever listened to me on this podcast, I believe in women being fully expressed, okay?
Yes.
But in order to get there, sometimes you need to learn. So go to the website, take the quiz, put your email in, and then schedule a consultation, okay? You need that. You need that in your life, okay?
And where can we stay connected with you?
You can stay connected with me everywhere, all over at Alicia Reese, ALECHIA REESE. And please don't think because I done had all these sex conversations, you can't get some goodness, okay? Trust me, get all the goodness. You can do both. Two things can exist, and make sure also too you stay connected with Triggered at Triggered AFPC all over. And Danny, where can we stay connected with you?
You can stay connected with me at the Danny Bordeaux, and you can also go to triggeredafpodcast.com to get more information when we have events coming and to stay connected with us. We hope this conversation was informational as well. Yes. We are really big on the whole human, and we do have to just acknowledge that we are sexual beings, especially women, especially Black women, because we are the woman, okay? So
it's a commandment.
And it's a commandment, yeah. Jesus said,
I think it was God. I don't think Jesus was around them, but that's okay.
Something higher than you believes that it is good for you to be fruitful and multiply with consent and with people who care for you and love you is going to help you take care of all the multiplications.
Yes.
Maybe not love you, but at least care for you. We don't have to be in love.
And care for the multiplications.
Oh, care for, okay, they got to care for that, yeah.
Thank you guys so much for listening. Please share this with a friend. Share this with your partner. Yeah. Share this with someone you might want to be your partner so that they can be informed in advance. We're trying to be prevention, not the cure, okay?
Yes. There we go.
Thank you guys. See you next time. Bye.